Hey, we're here. Good morning, guys. Hello,
Good
guys.
morning.
Everybody's checking in. California, Arizona. Uh,
Very nice.
we have them from uh, far, far and near. We have quite a few people check in.
Got some vibration going on. Let me see what's going on here. Is that better?
Let me see.
Let's see. Hang on. Better?
That is better.
All right.
Morning from Texas. Two guys, Roger, Sean from Texas. We got Kansas today, Central Kansas. Wyoming,
North Carolina.
Jeff Antle, North Carolina. Yes, sir. Okay, I think that is total. We have 63 people. Can everybody, Honolulu, I saw you yesterday. Another one from Florida. Can everybody hear us pretty good? Is it clear? Is the video good? And there's Travis. If you need CEU credits for today, email Travis. His email is travis.howard@hlflake. If you need it again, let me know. I'll send it over again to you. Okay, Joe Broussard, Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay, Louisiana, that's my neck of the woods. All good, everybody can hear? Good, loud and clear.
Good.
All
Good.
right. So I think we'll go ahead and get started, Greg.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move this over here, and I think I got to share screen somewhere.
New Jersey. So today, well, we have Greg from Rosslare, and we're going to go over the AxTraxNG software, and also towards the end, we'll do software and go over a little bit of product, but it'll be more software than product. I'll let Greg go ahead and take over.
All righty. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right. We'll assume everybody can. Thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate everybody taking time. We'll go through, like Brenton said, we'll talk a little bit about software first, and then we'll talk a little bit about product, and then don't hesitate to ask questions as we go along. This will be a very 30,000-foot view of the software from the standpoint of everything you need to know to be dangerous. To get a more granular training, I'll coordinate with you or coordinate with Brent, and we'll probably offer a 201 class that is going to be more tech based. But this is going to get you everything you need to know to get a system up and going, and um, just enough knowledge to be dangerous, so to speak. So unless anybody has any questions before we get started, we'll get going. First of all, something you need to know about our software, or Rosslare in general. Rosslare has been in the U.S. since the 80s. We're Israeli-based. We've been doing access control since 1980. We're in a couple other businesses as well, but access control is primarily our core business, and then that's all of what I do. I know we have some rechargeables division and some other things, and the different divisions don't necessarily collaborate on much. But today we're going to talk about access control. One of the great things about Rosslare and our software, since we're going to start out talking about software, is our software is free, up to 256 readers, so you can get quite a large system, and there's no charge for the software. There's also no charge for the updates, so we put out about 3 or 4 updates a year, and those come to you, or they're available to you at no additional charge. Some folks are going to ask about, is there a cloud version? Do you have what offerings do you have? The world as we know it today, we do not have a cloud offering. We have a cloud offering actually in development right now. If you're not familiar with the term cloud, basically, essentially, a cloud is your data on someone else's machine somewhere else. So many of our installers are utilizing or creating their own cloud and hosting their customer software at their office. So you can, we want our software installed on a server, but ultimately we don't really care where the server is. So the server can be at your customer's site, at your site, or a third-party remotely managed site. That's really irrelevant to us. We just want to get installed on a server somewhere. But we'll walk through, and like I said, some of this is going to get in pretty deep into the woods, and so we'll kind of keep it at a 30,000 foot level. I know we've got a time limit that we want to stay within. Let's see here. We also have some enhancements to our software as well. We have a direct integration with Hikvision and Dahua NVRs, so you can tie in their NVRs to the AxTrax software and either capture a snapshot or a video based on some type of access control event. We have, there is a fee for that, by the way. Our software is free, but Hikvision and Dahua want a piece of the action since we're integrating their NVRs into it. So there's a small fee, and it's based on a number of cameras. So you buy a bucket of cameras. So if you just need 2 cameras, you buy the 2 camera bucket. If you need 99 cameras, you buy the 99 camera bucket, and you don't have to pay for 99 and only use 2. It's really cost effective based on what you need. We do have one thing that's unique to our biometric readers is it's integrated into our software. So you have the ability, and we'll talk more about the biometric readers in the next half hour, but with our biometric readers, you're able to manage that data inside our software. You don't have to have a third-party software to manage all that. It can be done within our software. And of course, you can have 15 credentials per user, so you don't have to, but you could have multiple different cards, Bluetooth reader, biometric data, both fingerprint and facial recognition. There's several different ways that you can utilize those credentials, and we also have parking management tied in as well, and we'll get into a little bit more of that as we go along. Any questions so far? The text is not readable.
If he continues to have an issue, I can work on getting him to slide. I'll just make this a question.
Okay.
And I'll go over it all later on. If he still needs it, we'll get it to him.
Okay. So there's basically 3 levels or 3 components of the AxTraxNG software. You've got the AxTraxNG client, which is our user interface. This is really where you're going to spend your time administering the software. You can have up to there's an unlimited amount of clients you can have installed. You can have, I believe, 15 open and active at the same time. So if you want to, what was that? Sorry, I thought they were just questioning. So if you can have 100 clients installed, but only 15 can be used at the same time. You've got the AxTraxNG server, which is really where all the magic happens. It runs in the background, and it's really what and it's going to need to run on a machine somewhere. And like that's what I meant earlier is you'll need to. Ideally, in a perfect world, it would be on its own computer. And when I say server, I mean it's a software server. It could be on a laptop. It could be on a receptionist's laptop or HR's laptop. A lot of folks are using the little small form factor Nook style PCs, and they'll mount them right beside the access controller. It doesn't require a powerful machine, and it's a very lightweight program. It runs in the background, so If it is on someone else's existing machine, it won't interfere with anything they're doing. And you can also run it on different types of SQL Server, which talk about down there on the last paragraph here as well. There are some minimum requirements. From a operating system, needs to be a Windows 7, Service Pack 1, 8.1, or Windows 10. The server can either be server 2012 through 2016, 32-bit or 64-bit can be supported. Like I said, it's not a very taxing on the actual PCs. Minimum 4 gig recommended. I will tell you this, particularly if you're doing video, the more intense the demands are on the server, the more memory you want. So 8 gig is recommended, and then 8 gig of hard drive space excuse me, 5 gig is minimum on the hard drive space. So you want to make sure you give yourself lots of opportunities for success, but it doesn't have to be a powerful machine. I won't get into the network requirements too much other than to say that you want your server located on the same network, same subnet as the access control panel, at least to do the initial configuration. You can, as I mentioned earlier, you can remotely manage these controllers. Fact is, we've got one that's installed in San Francisco that the server is actually located in Israel. And so they fully manage that server from the Israel office. A VPN is not required, but it is recommended for remotely managing the software. And let's see, we do want static IP addresses for the controller as well. That, again, just creating an environment where it's going to give yourself the best chance for success. We will go through the installation process pretty quick because I always recommend, particularly for your first couple installs, if you haven't already done it before, call us ahead of time. Give us a couple of days. Say, hey, I'm going to be bringing on my first instance of AxTraxNG. We'll actually walk through the installation process with you, soup to nuts. So if you give us 48 hours or a couple of days, just a time and a date where we can get on. We'll do a screen share with you, and we'll actually install the software with you. I will tell you too, it works best on a clean machine. So if you are installing it on a machine, for example, HR's computer or the reception's computer or someone else's computer, if they already have SQL on there, it's not a game changer per se, but it does make it a little bit more difficult because you got to there are some behind the scene things you need to do. But and so and you can download a version of the software free. You don't even have to have a controller attached to it. If you go to AxTraxNG.com, which is up here at the top, AxTraxNG.com, you're able to download the latest copy of the server, the software, and there's installation videos actually available there, along with the release notes, wiring diagrams to all the controllers. So really everything you could possibly need is here at AxTraxNG.com. That is a website run by our tech support folks there in Southlake, which is in between Dallas and Fort Worth here in Texas. So our tech support is here in the States. Our company website, RosslareSecurity.com, is available as well, but most folks, particularly on the technical side, prefer going to AxTraxNG.com because it's a little more tech friendly and got more resources that you'll be interested in as opposed to our primary website. So definitely you want to write down this email or write down this address and have it available. I'll pause and see if we got some questions. Brent, do we have anything that we want check in here? You still with me, Brent? Okay, Brian Kessler's got a question. Do you recommend a dedicated computer as a server? The answer is ideally yes. It wouldn't have to be, but in a perfect world, it would be a dedicated computer. But you can install it on another machine. And let's see. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not hearing anything from any other feedback, so I'm assuming we're still live. Okay, we'll keep going then. So a normal installation, you'll install both the client and the server at the same time. If you're doing a subsequent client installation, like on a second machine or a security kiosk, in that version you would only, or in that situation, you'd only want to install the client version. We do have a VitTrax option in addition to our Daiwa and Hikvision integration that is available. The VitTrax, I will tell you, is it's available. I don't necessarily. I'd want to visit with you before you sell it to your customer. Make sure it's the right application. We also have a license plate reader solution that you can tie in as well, and there are additional licenses to purchase for both of those solutions. When you're installing, you'll check the I agree box, and right here you select what versions of the software you want. Do you want the server with the server monitor, the client? We do have an additional time tracker solution. Honestly, unless you just want it, there is a way to get that information without having to pay for it. So I'll show you. I'll show you that on a subsequent slide, and then you have your VitTrax softwares you can add as well. These do require a license that you have to purchase, as well as the AxTraxNG software. Going through the SQL Server installation, if it's a new install with no SQL out there, it goes much easier. So you'd install it as default. If there is existing SQL already on that machine, again, I'd recommend calling technical support and have them walk through that with you. It's just showing you what some of the screens would look like as you go through setting up the SQL Express. This is server monitor. So as you're going through, like I said, all these screenshots will be available as well. Navigating to set it up, the firewall configuration, so you don't have any firewall blocking issues. And then if you've got an existing network out there, there's a way to find legacy controllers for a TCP/IP network. You go through, and I'm gonna actually bring this up on the server the server so you can see it live. But you can find your network, go through, identify it as network type as TCP/IP, and go through configuration. We'll see some of that here on the server. Fact is, that may be a good time to go ahead and start moving over to that. Does anybody have any questions on the install piece of it before we go on? Brent may have laid his microphone down. I don't know.
I did, but I'm back.
Okay. All right.
I'll track those questions too if they
Okay,
come
good.
in.
Yeah,
I'll put a
that'd
question
be
bar.
helpful. So I'm going to show you the software that I actually have installed on my demo right now. When you open up your software, I will admittedly, this is not a sexy software. People like it because it works and it's easy to get in there and configure. It is not a very GUI intense software. It's a familiar interface that everyone is used to. It looks like Windows Explorer. You basically start at the top and work your way down, and it's we have it installed in a lot of multifamily scenarios, apartment complexes, so it's real easy for your customers to use it. Real easy for them to learn. But after you install the software, the first thing you're going to want to do is create a network, and you go up to AC networks, which is right up here. As everybody, I'm assuming as everybody will be able to see it. So what I've done is I've created a demo network, and this is for your TCP/IP connection. There's so you would hit a plus to add the network. You would name your network, whatever network you're going to name, and this is going to be any panel that you connect to the software via IP. Is what you're adding the network would be. So you can go through TCP/IP. Since this is already configured, I'm not going to go through that actual process here, but you hit the configuration button, it would go out and sniff and find all of the, well, actually that's the next step. It would find all the panels on that network. But here I've created a demo network with this. One of our legacy controllers is TCP/IP. It's got the network IP address support, and you always want to set the speed at 9600. It sets up the most stable option for our network. And then right up here, it's going to give you a image of what your dip switches should like. There's 8 dip switches on each controller, and so this is going to show you what you're going to want to see as far as the dip switches are concerned. And then you can choose the time zones or a different time zone if you want to utilize a different time zone than your host server. Once you've identified the network, then you start adding controllers. So here's my demo controller. Go back here. My demo controller is a AC225 IP, and you want to, when you're adding the controller, you want to make sure that you get the hardware instance accurate. So not only do you want to choose what controller you have, but if you have an expansion board in there, like for example, I have an expansion board included in this configuration. I also have it set up for 1 reader per door. So want to choose that. All that is done at this particular stage. And again, right here, I have an illustration of how my dip switches should be on the controller. So it makes it real easy so you know which one, which dip switches need to be where. And you can address the panel, different panel addresses depending on how many panels you've got out deployed. You configure your anti-passback here, and then your general events filter and so forth under the options tab. If you wanted to add multiple controllers, you're able to do all that through here. You go through and see the dip switches change here because it's the second panel address, different readers per door, the different hardware options, all done here. Next, you would add any biometric terminals, and we won't go into that a whole lot because it's probably the exception, not the rule. But if you do have biometric terminals available, this is where you would add them. And we offer a pretty extensive range of biometric terminals. And I'll show you that in our next presentation, the second half of the presentation, but we have both facial recognition and fingerprint terminals that also tie in with our Bluetooth option, so you have a hands-free version as well. In our case today, I've got one of our anti-vandal biometric terminals. It's currently set up right now. If you had any video integration, it will be set up right here, both your Vitrax solution and your Hikvision and Dahua. I don't have either of those set up today to show, but I can. This is where you would configure and set up. There's no hardware you tie into the existing network that the NVRs are on. There is a license and a configuration. The license, I would order it about 3 days before you need it, because it would actually have to come from Israel. The license would, so it takes a little bit to get it here. But the actual installation and integration is something that happens. It's really quick, like 10-15 minutes, and you'll be up and integrated. We got some questions coming up here. Let's see, Jose. I'll give you my email address and contact information. You can reach out to me directly, and we can go through answer your questions more specifically if they don't cover it on this, and/or our tech support team will also walk you through the installation. Like I said, they'll walk you through soup to nuts on any installation questions you have there. And what if you were adding a panel? Would you need to do it here or elsewhere? So if you're adding a panel, it'd be right here. Once you create the network, then you'd be determine whether if it's on the same network or a different network, but you'd add it just like this. So then you'd name your panel, second panel, and then tell it, describe all the different requirements. It's 225 IPB, 1 reader per door, and then add from here. So that's how you would add another panel. And again, it tells you how you want to set up your dip switches as you go through and configure it. Okay. Timing and time zones and holidays. So time zones you would set up here if you would. It comes default with never and always. Unless you need a time zone, you wouldn't necessarily have to. So I mean, you could skip this step if you just want to get something up and running quickly, and it would be on an always scenario. But here you can create, as I've done here, a Monday through Friday schedule. You just take and drag your time that you want, create, and now this time zone is now, I've added Sunday from 9 to 5. Unfortunately, you can't copy and paste. You have to drag and drop, and you can have, I think it's 16. So if you wanted to have multiple, you can do that as well on a day. So you say, you may want certain schedules, like if you have a school that doors open from a certain time. If you want to get very granular on what times it's available, you can go through, hit properties, and you can say really specifically, I want 9:07 to maybe 9:15. And so you can get very granular on the times for that particular schedule. My recommendation to you, particularly guys who have not done this before in the past, any time schedule that you do, try to be as specific as you can when you name it. So like if you notice up here, I've got Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 for this particular time zone. I've got Saturday through Sunday, 10 to 6, second shift, 6 to 2. So you've got different, the more details you can give yourself, the better. And really across the board, if we're talking about installs and doing your first ones, document. You cannot have too many notes as you're going through, particularly as you get into some of the AC links, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the more you can document, the better you're going to be, because at some point you're going to have to go back and service it. And I can assure you, you won't remember exactly what you had it set up then. You can also set up holidays. You can do holidays based on Outlook, so it will actually, you can come up here and create holidays based on Outlook. I think I've already got that done here. I imported directly from Outlook, or which is this button here, or you can do a special holiday. So if you have, because no one wants to work on Brent's birthday, we would do Brent's birthday, and we just plug in whatever date that is, and then every year. So you can add a specific holiday. On days, on holidays, so let me pull it up, edit. Like Thanksgiving, it's going to look for a specific date instead of third Thursday of every month. So you'll want to update it on a regular basis. But like Christmas is, the 25th, December every year, so it's a little bit easier to manage. Yep, and that's a great point. We have a first in for Tim asked about things being locked 24/7 now with the COVID lockdown. You have the ability to set up. Historically, we've used it the example as a snow day. So, for example, if you're set on a schedule and at 8 o'clock the doors are supposed to unlock, you can set it up to where first in is required. So someone actually has to show up with a badge to read in for the schedule to kick in. If it doesn't, it won't unlock the doors. That's in today's world with the COVID-19 things, offices are closed, so it's not going to run the schedule unless someone reads in, before the schedule is time to start. So you can create a number of groups, and it's per panel. It's set up by panel, and so I'll go through and set up. I'll show you on the panel screen when we talk about that. But I've got you can set them up like departments, and so I've got westerns set up on here. So my hierarchy is westerns and spaghetti westerns, and then good, bad, and the ugly. And so you'll see that as we go through here. But you can set up which readers are accessible by different groups or different departments, what time zones that particular group or department has access to those particular readers. So they may have, for the front door reader, they may have 24/7 access, but the internal readers, maybe they're on a different time zone. So you're able to actually change all that here from the group screen. You can establish access areas, and then output groups, input groups. So if you have certain things that you want to trigger based on certain activities or events. Card plus card. So if you have a high security situation in a bank or something along those lines, to where it's going to require 2 cards to access a vault, you can set all that up here. You can also, in the actual users, and I'll show you that shortly, is you can set up a card plus PIN or card plus PIN, multi-factor authentication. So you can say, that in order to get into this particular reader, you need your card plus your PIN plus another level of authentication to access that particular area. And we have vehicle access groups as well that's tied in with license plate reader cameras. There's actually a license plate reader, I think it's a Hikvision, that outputs Wiegand. And so it will read the license plate and output a Wiegand string based on that, the reading of that license plate, and tie directly into our software. And so the license plate at that point becomes the credential. Set up your global anti-passback here. We do have car parking solution built into this, so you can set up if your parking garage has 100 spots and you've got 99 cars in there, it'll let one more car in, and you can actually have it fire a relay to where it turns on the sign and says parking lot full, or parking lot, parking lot available, or spots available, whatever your circumstance is. In fact, as we just posted a video about that on our Facebook group on how to set up the parking garage feature in AxTrax. It'd be real beneficial there. Here's where you're probably going to spend the most time. It's in the users. Again, you're going through, you've got your departments, and I've got Spaghetti Western set up. So as you tell right here, I've got my my employees, Blondie, Angel Eyes, Tuco, and then of course Director Sergio Leone here. So let's look in here, see what Blondie's got. Of course, Clint is Blondie. Have his name, all tons of HR data available in here as well. You can go through and enter their details, notes here. But in the general screen, you can have a image of them. You can go through if they need extended door time for some kind of a ADA type requirement, that's available here. You set up a counter, so if this person has can only access for 30 times, maybe they're a contractor and they're going to be here for 30 days, you can set it up to where they have access to it 30 times, or you can create a certain date that's valid from one day to the next. And I don't guess my pointer's working. Hopefully you can see. Yeah, you can see my my mouse. But it's valid from or until a particular date. You can set up email notifications, so you get notified every time this particular individual shows up. If you want to have some kind of a dual authentication set up, it will be done here. Here's where all your credentials go. And so if I'm adding a credential, I go to new and then determine what type of credential is it. And there's multiple different options you have to choose from. You put in your facility code, the card ID number. What type of a credential is it? Is it a card? Is it a Bluetooth? Is it an NFC, UHF, whatever it is? Any particular details, and then you'd add. You'd also, if you're adding it from a fingerprint reader or a face terminal, if it's biometric, or you can enroll it from a desktop reader or even a license plate camera reader. All that can be done here. Your PIN code is added right here. You can generate a random PIN code, which actually I recommend, or you can set up a duress PIN code here. One of the great things about this software, particularly for those using it in the client version, if you have a security guard or someone monitoring a particular monitoring the comings and goings, you can have a pop-up as someone presents a card. So as I read in, my pop-up's on the other screen. Let me move it over here. So you get a pop-up every time someone shows up. So this, of course, is Sergio Leone. But if I wanted to see who this is here, that one's not. Here we go. And here's Tuco. My pop-ups are happening on my other screen, so I apologize in advance for that. Try to drag them over as they come. But at any rate, you also see the event down here below. So right now I've got Tuco in the wrong time zone, so he's not allowed access into the building. Let's see who does have access to the building. But at any rate, you get all the details down here. You get access denied or access granted, what card number it is, who it is, and you get a pop-up of who's showing up. So if someone's monitoring this, you can actually, if you tie it in with the Hikvision or Daiwa integration, in addition to getting the pop-up of who was issued a credential, you can also get a pop-up of the actual event, someone reading in, so you can compare the two and identify, hey, these are clearly not the same individual. Let's check into this and see what's going on. But you can add and delete here. You can also set up, you can add cards manually, individually, either by utilizing a reader or a desktop reader. We have multiple different desktop readers available. You can add a bulk or a range of cards. So if you wanted to add multiple cards at once, you can import from a spreadsheet. So if you wanted to bring in hundreds or thousands of users at the same time, you could do that as well, all from a spreadsheet. You can print cards as well. You can have, so we talked about that a little bit earlier. The software is free and built in here. It's free to design and print badges on your card. So if you have an ISO printer or ISO card and a compatible printer, then those you could actually print badges, employee badges on the ISO card. Any questions on here? Tuco should never have access agreed.
So Greg,
Yes.
with the events,
Mm-hmm.
are you saying that you can have the video pop up if you're using the Daiwa or Hikvision integration with the cameras?
Yes, sir.
If you get a access denied, I can get it to show a picture, or an access granted. Is that
correct? And you can also set it up to where you get an email.
right? Okay.
So in the event that you set up whatever configuration you want, I only want to get emails if someone is denied access, and so that could be if someone tried to use their badge. For example, they're set up where they can come access the building Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and then they try to come in at Saturday morning at 2 o'clock in the morning. I can get an email notification that someone tried, whoever that was, John Smith tried to access the building at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So you can set that up that way. And to answer your question, yes, you can. With that pop-up, you will get you can set it up to receive two different pop-ups. You can get a pop-up of who was issued the credential, and then you can get a pop-up of whatever time frame you want, a 4-second pop-up of them actually presenting the credential, so that event.
Okay. There's a question for you.
Yeah, there is no cost for the badge printing module. It is built in here, and so it's free. The badge printer, you'd obviously have to pay for it. And I can work with Brent on getting you a part number for that. But the actual software to design and print the badge is free. Good question. You can set up visitor badges. If you wanted to set up some kind of a visitor badge, you're able to do that here. User filters. User filters are helpful if you wanted to sort by departments or names or something. I don't use that a lot because I try to put more detail the better in there. Vehicle types. You can go through and set up, tied in with your license plate camera. And I apologize, some of this is popping up on the other screen, but you set up vehicle details, what kind of car it is, the license plate number, the model, the color, all that kind of good stuff right here, and you'd enter all that in vehicle types. Here's your card design. We talked a little bit about card design earlier. You can go through and print a different card.
You got one question, Greg. It's a pretty good one.
When you make groups, is each reader in a panel separate in the software? I'm not sure I understand. Tim, can you rephrase the question? I'm not sure I understand.
When you make groups, each reader and the panel separate. I'm wondering if he's asking, like, is each reader, does it have to be in its own group? And if that is the question, then no, it wouldn't have to be in its own group. But
Right.
I think he'll rephrase it.
Okay.
He has already.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So no. Well, see. So for example, so I've got, here's my controller, and then here's the readers on that controller. So these are the different readers I have, and it's showing you if in or out or whatever, and then the operation mode. So this here is a pin, but this is set up for all of our readers. Then I go over to the access groups. That's really what's telling me what time zone, who has access during what time frames, if I'm understanding your question properly. And Tim, if I don't answer it, maybe I can get with you afterwards and get you an answer.
Okay, I got it marked.
You also have status maps available. Again, this is where you can add your different. So, for example, you'd import a bitmap here, and you can set it up. So, for example, I've got one already in here. So I'm able to identify the different readers and the different doors. And then so as someone unlocks a door, I can see the activity on the reader. I can also see the door position. So all the doors are closed right now, but I would, if I had it wired up to a door, I could see the door status. So if it was propped open, I'd be able to identify that here. You can move these around where, and place them wherever you want. And again, that's just looking for a bitmap to be able to set that up. And then we have a ton of reports available built in. This is our reporting module here. Who's been in a day, last known position, roll call. You can set them up for a panel report, system report, inactive reports. You can do in here's where you do your time and attendance reports. If you wanted to set that up, you could export that. In fact, you could set up an event where it will export that time and attendance CSV file and email it on a regular basis to HR, whoever does your payroll. So, for example, if Monday morning HR needs a report of who's been in, what times were they here and when did they leave, you can set the software up to where it'll automatically email you that report on every Monday at 9 a.m. or whenever you need that by. And all the reports in here are available to you at no charge. So again, from a 30,000 foot view, I mean, this is a software. It's you've got set up for backups. You can put your backups wherever you want it. I would recommend when you do the install, back up the software and keep a copy of the software with your office, whether with the technician or somewhere available that you attach it to their computer file somewhere. So because the reality is that customers, if they don't see that software, they're going to sometimes override it. So a computer will crash, or they'll move it or something like that. The route, sometimes software gets damaged. So it's a good idea to have a backup that is that you keep, in addition to having it set up normally to where it'll normally back up wherever you point that to.
So, Greg, are you saying if you make a backup of your database, have a backup elsewhere, somewhere other than on the server, so in case the server crashes, you have no backup. That's what you're
Right.
saying?
Yeah. And that's a great point, because you can't go back and recreate the data based on the panel. So if you lose your only database, you can't recover that database from the controller. You would have to start over and reprogram everything from start. So it's a good idea to have at least something that is tangible that you can put your hands on, um, if in the event that some kind of catastrophic failure happens. And that happens all the time, unfortunately. That's why, again, it's better to have a standalone PC that you put the server on, that only you have access to, so it's not someone else's computer, because inevitably things happen. And so I get a call at least once a month from someone, poor installer, who's said, hey, we didn't keep a backup, and their server, or the receptionist computer died, and so they threw it away and got our new one. Now nothing's working. Well, I mean, everything will work. It does. I should clarify, it doesn't require a server to be operational. You just won't be able to make changes, or change times or anything like that. The controllers will function fine without the server running. You just won't be able to make changes to it. I think I answered your question there, Ben. Yeah, the server, as far as once the server is up and running, you can, in fact, I don't recommend it, but we have some installers that do that. They actually keep the server on their computer. And so, and it's not a cloud solution. They install it, configure it, and turn off their laptop and take it home with them. And that instance of the server is on their machine until the customer calls and says, hey, we want to add a user or delete a user or whatever. And then they go back out and plug it back in and upload the database and make the changes, save it, and wash, rinse, repeat, power it down, and take it with them.
Another question from,
Yes, you can set up a remote backup schedule. That's possible. And ideally, if they're sophisticated enough to where they have a server that's on a backed up, you can set it up to back up on that, map it to that drive and back it up that way. That's the ideal solution, is that the server gets backed up to something that is backed up. So it's if you're blessed to have a good relationship with the IT guy at that particular organization, have him tell you where a safe place to back it up is, and point it to that drive, so it'll be backed up. They'll do the backup, but it never hurts to, particularly if you've got a lot of custom programming in there, never hurts to have a backup that you keep. So worst case scenario, some kind of catastrophic issue happens, you'd still be safe and wouldn't have to start all over. Glenn asked if there's a config file. So you'd reinstall the software, and you'd import the and restore from the backup. And honestly, it's the import export data. So I've never restored from a software. So this is where you'd import your properties, like your users, be done here. Your options here. Periodic backup, we talked about that. Import configurations, events. So all that will be done through here. So your database, all your database functions will be right here. So if you were restoring from it, you'd go ahead and install the AxTraxNG software and then restore it from one of these database files, whatever your configuration is done here.
so The answer for Glenn is yes, right?
Yes. You have a guard screen available. So if you want to set it up for the guard only sees data, he can't go in here and make changes or whatever. He can only see what the pop-ups are. You're able to set that up as well. And then AC links. AC links, we didn't talk about that before, but I'll briefly talk about it now. You can set up, so it's basically if this, then that. So if I read into this reader, it's going to unlock these two doors. Or if these two doors are open, it's going to sound a strobe or sound a siren and light up a strobe, or any number of things. This is really where the magic happens, and you can you can customize it quite a bit. You can also set up different kind of notifications. I know of people who've used it to if Sally reads in, then HR gets a pop-up that, hey, Sally just showed up, or something, something like that. You can be very, very creative in how you use your AC links. And in a nutshell, like I said, from a 30,000-foot view, this is the software. I will tell you that. Let's see. This is the manual that goes with the software, and it's actually a pretty good read. It's not. I mean, if you read it start to finish, you're gonna fall asleep, obviously, but it's pretty easy to read as far as going through and installing the software, programming it. It's not that difficult to understand, and it's going to basically walk you through everything that what I did. And so out of all the manuals that we have, this is not a bad one to embrace. So Brent, did you want to hop on over to some of the hardware stuff?
Yeah, if you're done, let's get on to the next step. Oh, let's see if we have any more questions.
Okay.
Do you have any more software related questions? If so, send them on over. We can get them answered, and if we can't answer them now, we'll get the answer to you later.
And as I mentioned, when you're ready to do your first one, I highly encourage you to reach out to our tech support guys, and give them a couple days notice so they have time to get you on the schedule. But let them know, say, hey, I'm going to do my first one. I want you guys to walk through it with me, and they'll do a screen share with you and walk through the installation with you, soup to nuts. And so, don't feel like you've got to, everything that we talked about today, you've got to memorize. They do this all the time, and so they certainly know it more than I do, and they're able to do that installation with you to make sure you get set up. It's a good learning experience for you, and then you can make sure you get it set up properly from the get-go. So highly encourage you to, when you do one of these, the first couple that you do, just call them ahead of time and give them a couple of days notice and say, hey, I want to bring it on and need your help, and they'll be happy to help you with that. Drew Dennis asked a great question. Leap year did not affect us. The way our system handles scheduling, it was not leap year was not an issue. I was worried about that too at first. I called, and when I saw some of the other manufacturers put out software updates and warnings, that's one of the first things I did is I reached out to support, and I said, hey, is this going to affect us? And they looked into it, and no. Steve asked a great question. Can the software integrate with a competitor product? Competitor controller, probably not. And obviously, if it's a weekend product, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, we tend to play nice. So if you got a weekend reader, it'll work nice on our controllers, and our controllers, our readers tend to work nice on everyone else's controllers that takes Wiegans. The only real caveat to that is our panels are looking for our software. So I don't know that it would control anyone else's panels, and I know that our controllers will only work with our software. So you can't use a third-party software with our controllers. Roger asked about class credits. Yeah, ask email Travis, and he can get you set up like that. But yeah, Steve, as far as keypads, card readers, and all that kind of stuff, yeah, we work with virtually any competitor as far as their output devices, their readers, as long as it's a Wiegand, as long as the output's Wiegand, and we got all kinds of different. You can set up custom formats and different things. So we work with a number of different products. We actually manufacture for other manufacturers. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Honeywell's #1 selling readers are a reader we make for them, and because of that, we tend to play nice with most everybody in the business. So we different readers, as long as it's a Wiegand, as long as the output's Wiegand, it's more than likely going to work on our panels. You already hop into the hardware side of things?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
All right. So I've got a video here. I'll skip that for time's sake. The sun truly never sets on Rosslare. We've got a worldwide presence. We're Israeli based, but we have offices across the globe, and we actually own our own development and production facility in China. One of the founder's sons actually manages that facility, so he's able to oversee the quality control. That's why you get a consistent and reliable product from our factory there. But we also have, as I mentioned, branch offices in North America, Latin America, Europe, India, China, the Asia Pacific countries, Africa, and the Middle East. You'll see most of our installations in small to mid-sized businesses. That's really where our sweet spot is. But we do have enterprise level solutions that work with government and educational products as well. Residential here in the States, we do a lot of multifamily, not so much single family, but we do a lot of multifamily as well. Access control is what we talk about today. We do have a guard patrol product that you can use to track and manage security guards. So as they make their route, they're able to check in with certain stations and their wand, and it'll document that they were at this particular station at this particular time. So it's a good product for folks that need that type of solution. And as I mentioned before, we do private label and OEM for other manufacturers. We also have a rechargeables division that does batteries and things. I don't really get into that side of it because that's not my not what they pay me for, but it is something else we do. We do, as I mentioned, private label for and OEM for several of our competitors, HID, Honeywell, and Bosch, to name a few. I say that not necessarily to brag, but our competitors are trusting our build quality enough that they'll have us build for them. And then, as I mentioned before, we tend to play nice with everybody. So if you will give us a Wiegand input, we're probably going to work with your reader or keypad will work with our controller. Vice versa, we have our readers and other controllers. I tell Brent, I said, I don't have to be the guest of honor. I just want to be invited to dinner. So I would love to see a closed ecosystem with just Rosslare, but the reality is that don't always happen. So we will tend to work with most everybody. Here's some of the installations that we have across the globe, everything from the National Stadium in China to the University of Texas El Paso campus, and really all points in between. Here's an example of installation in a medical facility. We've got 4 of our AC 825 controllers, which is our flagship or our enterprise level controller. It's got 18 expansion modules, D805 expansion modules or reader expansion modules with a total of 84 readers. This is set up with our in our enclosures. We also have the same controllers available with DIN rail mounting, so you can mount it either on a DIN rail or just it comes. Some of our panels actually have the mounting hardware built in, so you can mount it on any number of surfaces. Just a basic layout of a network controller, and I'll get into a little bit more details on it, I think, in a subsequent slide. Here we are. So best basis G. I'm sorry, I got a question here. Best basis G. I'm not familiar with what that is.
I've never seen it either.
Ray, let me know what you mean by best basis G. I apologize. Tim, you are correct. As a guy who's done service calls in the past, I wish that all of my service calls looked like those. So these, what I'm showing you here is what our engineers tell us. Now, Larry, who is our technical support guy, will give you some caveats with that. But theoretically, you can go up to 1,023 controllers on a AxTraxNG installation. And with our 825 doing 56 readers per controller, you can have north of a 60,000 reader installation. Now, those are engineering specs. The real world that the rest of us have to live in, it's not always quite that simple. If you're using one of our legacy controllers, which is our 215, 225, and 425, you can have up to 32 of those controllers on a TCP/IP network on the LAN, which is what I've got represented here. And for each one of those controllers, you can have up to 32 additional controllers on a RS-485 bus. Tech support prefers that number to be up to 8. So, but I mean, again, engineering will tell you can do 32. But tech support again would like to see you limit that to 8, just from a what they've seen in the real world. RS-485 communication, again, the engineers will tell you it'll go up to 3,000 feet. Best scenario or best results tend to be around a 2,000 feet marker. So, even with the limited or dialed back regulations or recommendations tech support's put out, it's still a pretty extensive solution you can get with the Rosslare system. Here's just a quick comparison table. Our flagship controller, which is the 825, is the one I showed the installation of earlier. You can have up to 100,000 users, and to clarify that will be with each user with one credential. Really what that's saying is you can have 100,000 credentials. So if each user had 2 credentials apiece, then that number would be 50,000. So, and then same with the 215, the 225, and the 425. But still a substantial installation. Unlimited access groups, your event log buffers, 500,000 with the 825, 20,000 with the other controllers. Maximum readers, 56 readers on a single controller with 825, 2, 4, and 8 with the other controllers. And then here's the input, outputs, and the communication paths options you have available. And we'll go into a little more granular detail on each one of those controllers. Do we work with SafeLock? What product, is there a particular product you're talking about? We do have standalone units. I'll show you some standalone units here shortly. And online, I'm not sure, Ray, what you're asking there about also online. You can give me some more feedback on those. So our bread and butter controllers are 215, 225, and 425 controllers. Now, I think Brent, we got a 225 installed there at your office there in the showroom. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that is our top selling controller. But our well, left to right, our AC215 is a two-door non-expandable controller. When I mean non-expandable, I mean you can't put an expansion module inside the enclosure to go beyond 2 doors. You can have multiple. You can have up to 1023 AC215s on the network, and so you can expand it that way. But I can't put an expansion module in there to go from a 2-door to a four-door, for example. However, our enclosures have, and this is for all of our enclosures, we have a task light up here that's on, it's a light bar, and it's actually on a cable, so you can remove it from this holding place, if you will, and aim it wherever you need to aim it. So this light bar here, for something as simple and cheap as it is worth the price of admission. Everybody loves the light bar. Your network connection's right over here. Real easy to get to. We got a lot of wire management options right here. The knockouts are already punched out and put plastic inserts with tabs so you can tie back your wires. You got 3 on either side of the controller and then 3 on each sidewall. Your power supply is internalized, and so you've got a cable. It's the same cable that you plug your desktop computer in. So you just plug it into the bottom and plug it into the wall, so electrician is not required. This is a 4-amp power supply, and this is for all of the power supplies we're talking about here. All the options are the same. It's a 4-amp power supply. 2 amps are segmented for your controller and your readers. The other 2 amps are segmented for your locks. So you don't have to have a separate power supply for your locks if you use the Rosslare enclosure. Now that will get you 2 amps will safely handle 3 1,200-pound mag locks or any number of door strikes, because the requirements, the amperage is so much less. It's got a nice carriage for a 7-amp-hour battery already there, so you can, the installed controller is super neat and lots of room to get in there and service it. So your 215 is a 2-door non-expandable controller. Your 225 is 2 doors out of the box, but you can expand it with a expansion module. I'll show you that here shortly. And it comes in a DIN option as well. All of our controllers come in a DIN option as well. You just order the PCBA version of the controller. As I mentioned before, the 215 will go up to 30,000 users, 20,000 events logged. Up to 2 readers. You can set it up in a 1 or 2-door configuration. It's got 2 Rex inputs, 2 auxiliary or door inputs, 2 auxiliary outputs, and as I mentioned, 2 amps available at 13.8 VDC available to power your locks. For those of you who've installed Rosslare in the past and you installed a tan colored enclosure, that was our A series controller. You can install your A series and your B series on the same ecosystem. You just want to make sure that they're all up to the latest software. So just update the software or the firmware up to the latest version. But you can add to, if you got an existing system out there, you can add to it with the B series, or you can replace the A series with the B series. Again, you just want the latest firmware. The 225 is again up to 30,000 users, 20,000 events, 2 readers, standard, 1 or 2 doors, and 2 Rex inputs, 2 auxiliary, and 2 aux. It's expandable to 4 readers with our MDDO2B, and I'll show you that in a momentarily. And it mounts right here. So this right here has got a sticker that peels off, and you mount the expansion module right here. And so it's powered from the controller. And the expansion module for the 225 is this guy here, the MD-DO2B. And this is again powered from the enclosure, so you don't have to have a separate power supply for it. And it adds 2 doors or 2 reader inputs, 2 Rex inputs, and 2 auxiliary ins, and 2 auxiliary outs. The AC425B is this used to be our flagship controller many years ago, and then we came out with the 825, which I'll show you next. So this is kind of an in-between product. If you need to do six doors at a very cost-effective solution, the 425 is your guy. It'll do up to 8 doors with the expansion module. The sacrifice you give when you go to 425 is you lose your auxiliary inputs and outputs. They just simply ran out of space on the 425. So you can expand it to 8 readers, same way you mount an expansion board right here on top. And we've got 2 expansion boards for the 425. We've got the MD-DO4B, which is similar to the one for the 225. So that's going to add 4 doors or 4 readers. It's got additional door inputs, but again, no auxiliary inputs or outputs. Powered by the controller. Or if you need more inputs or outputs, you can put the MD-IO84B, which will give you 8 auxiliary door inputs and 4 auxiliary outputs. And both of these mount right here. You can only use one of the 2, but either one you choose will mount right here. And we talked about dip switches earlier. This is a good picture here. Here's where your dip switches are. Right up here in the upper right-hand corner. Our 825 is our flagship controller. It's truly an enterprise level controller. Like our other panels, it's got the light bar up here, got the integrated power supply, a nice carriage for your backup battery, and lots of knockouts and tie wrap options as well. You've got 4 expansion module options with the 825. You can have inputs, outputs, door expansion, so additional readers, or elevator control. One thing to note with the expansion modules on the 825, I'm going to just go back. With the 225 and 425, the expansion module must be installed on top of the main controller inside the enclosure. With the 825, you can mount the expansion module here, just like you do with the other controllers, inside the main controller, or you can mount them remotely. You can have, again, up to 2,000 or 3,000 feet with a RS-485 bus, and so you can mount your expansion modules throughout the facility, so you don't have to home run all of your readers back to the main controller or back to the head end. You can run your readers to the expansion modules wherever they are throughout the RS-485 bus. You can either mount them on a DIN rail, or you can mount them in auxiliary expansion enclosures, which is ME1515, which is this same enclosure without the controller. Yeah, Tim, thank you for that comment. I've had it's a very tech-friendly controller. Everybody I've showed it to has been real excited about it. It's a good-looking enclosure, and it's we've had a lot of positive feedback. So with the 825, up to 100,000 users or 100,000 credentials, up to 500,000 events logged. Standard, you've got 4 doors with 2 input, 1 output each, 4 auxiliary inputs and 2 auxiliary outputs. Again, you have the power supply available to power 2 amps of locks. And one thing that's different about the 825 is the 215, 225, and 425 are half duplex communication. The 825 is full duplex communication, so it's got bi-directional data, which is more stable. It's faster. I will tell you, if you're going to set up a remote server, it's a little bit more involved. So make sure you have your network guy there, or have a VPN set up, it works better in that situation. But it is a little bit more, does require a little bit more thought process to put into it. The D805 expansion module, this guy right here, is where you can add another 4 doors. Again, this can be mounted here on top of the primary controller board, or it can be remotely installed elsewhere. The controller, the 825 controller, will handle up to 56 doors. Do I recommend you putting 56 doors on one controller? I don't know that I would. If you've got 50 doors, split it up, put two controllers out there. It's not going to be that much of a cost difference, and I think you'll have a happier customer in at the end of the day. It's a lot of doors to put on one controller. But if you had to have 56 doors on one controller, this one will handle it. As I mentioned, it's got the onboard expansion slot that you can use, and you can use any one of these expansion modules will go on the controller. And the ME1515 enclosures, what I talked about earlier, that you can add subsequent or additional expansion modules throughout, or just use the DIN rail mounting and mount it on your surface choice. We talked about software earlier. The software is free up to 256 readers. There's no monthly fees or no charges for updates. We do 3 to 4 updates a year. You can have 3,200 or up to 256 time zones with 16 segments each. Email verification, video integration, and badge design and printing. Interactive status map, I showed you that earlier. Auto door with first person delay. We talked a little bit about that, where in the event of the COVID world that you got a schedule that doors are set to open. You can set it up to where someone's got to show up first, so the doors don't open without anybody being there. And it pass back, timed door or global. With the client feature, you can have 10 simultaneous activations of that. You can have any number of installations, not really a limit on installation or instances, but you can have 10 simultaneous instances going on. And it's compatible with Windows 7, 8, 8.1, and 10. Kind of went through a lot of this already. Customizable Wiegand format. So we talked earlier about using different readers with our controllers. It's certainly available, and you can even choose what Wiegand format you want. This is our bread and butter readers. In fact, these pictures are a little bit outdated, so I need to get new ones. But our new ones, the form factor is identical. It's just got a different logo up here. This reader here is probably our second most popular reader, with the AYK12C being number 1. This is about the size of a deck of cards. This is about the size of a matchbox. So this is our number 1 selling reader. In fact, this is also Honeywell's number 1 selling reader we make for them. We just put in their firmware, so it's a little bit different of a read. But these are fully potted, indoor or outdoor. They're not anti-vandal, but they're super, super tough. And this is a regular mullion style. But we sell a ton of these and lots of happy customers. I will tell you, on the AYK12C, this one right here, I do recommend, and I need to put on here the part number. Anytime you sell this reader, sell it with a mounting bracket, particularly if it's going to be mounted on a metal door frame. Excuse me. It pulls it off the metal door frame and gives a little bit better read range. You don't necessarily have that product with either with the L or the H series, but the K12C, since it's a little bit smaller, it'll just give you a little bit better read range if you put that mounting bracket on there. We had a question about standalone. We do offer standalone readers. We actually have 2 styles of standalone readers. We have true standalone readers that do not. We have a standalone reader that has the relay built in, so all it requires is a power supply and a lock. Or we have what we call convertible readers, which will work with which will output Wiegand, or you can add a relay and a power supply to have it work as a standalone. The top ones here that we have are our convertible series, so they will work with either a controller or as a standalone unit. And the benefit of this is sometimes you'll have a customer that says, "Hey, I want to just have one door of access," and then 2 weeks later they call you back. "This is awesome. I want to go ahead and add the rest of my doors." Well, if you use a true standalone reader, now that reader is worthless to you if you try to integrate multiple readers. In a convertible world, this starts out as a standalone reader, and then when you get that callback saying, "Let's add more readers," you just disconnect this from the relay and wire it directly into the controller, and now all of a sudden you've got a regular Wiegand reader. But in a standalone world, it'll work with pin or prox up to 500 users as a controller, and in the Wiegand world, it'd be 26-bit Wiegand. We do have a GoProx line, which is we do in partnership with HID, so it's genuine HID technology built in. So these will work with both our credentials and HID credentials. These ones that I've got down here. So basically, the one it's still 125K reader, but the HID version is FSK, and ours is ASK. AM radio versus FM radio. It's virtually irrelevant, but HID has chosen to use FSK as opposed to ASK, and so we match it, and this is great in a takeover situation. So if you've got a customer that already has HID credentials out there, you can go back and add and use these. Particularly with gates and stuff, we see a lot of folks using these readers when they're doing takeovers for gates.
So, hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
So the C in the part number, does that you see AY, then you have C. The C would mean convertible?
Yes, sir. Great catch. Yes.
And any part that you have that has that C in it would be convertible. Next one, for the power supply, you will need a specific power supply in order to use the convertible readers in standalone mode.
Correct. We offer, and it wouldn't have to necessarily be ours, but it'd have to be one that has a relay built in. So our part numbers, I just pulled up catalog. It would be the PC-25 LT or the PSC-25 LT.
Okay, and we have them in stock.
Right. Or it could be TU if you wanted it with the box. But yeah, those should be available.
Okay.
Great question. Great catch. So if you have a customer that's requiring a little bit more security than the regular 125K type credential, we have several smart card readers. CSN Smart is our line of those, but these particular ones will support up to 9 different styles of smart card credentials, including MyFair. They also work with our Bluetooth app. And by the way, our Bluetooth app is available on iOS and Android. On the Android version, you're able to utilize the NFC functions of your Android phone, so it'll work as an NFC reader as well. iOS has not opened that up to us yet, so we're not able to. Sorry about that. Let's see. We're not able to access iOS's NFC communication yet, but when they make that available, we will certainly do it. With the Bluetooth app, and I wish I had someone to show you here, but basically you'd open it up and click on it. When you open it up, it's going to identify all the doors, as you see here. Right here, all the doors in the area will be listed here, and you just click on the button. It's got a little picture of a door. You click on the button of which door you want to unlock. The reason we did it this way is it reduces battery consumption, so you got a longer battery life if you don't have it looking for doors all the time. And then 2, if you're walking down a hall, that's got several Bluetooth readers. You don't want to unlock all the doors as you walk by. So this allows you, it's a pretty simple process, 3 to 5 seconds. You click open the app, you pick which door you want to unlock, click it, and then you're in. With the NFC version of it, again with the Android, all you had to do is unlock the phone. You don't have to open the app. You just got to unlock the phone as a security check, if you will, and then hold the phone up to the reader, and you can access it that way. The BLE app, BLE ID app, is available in the App Store at no charge. The BLE admin app is what you, the installer, would want to manage the installation. And you configure it to rename it, set up passwords, all that kind of stuff. There is a charge for that. I think it's $3 in the App Store, and that's both for iOS and Android.
And you said that you can use the phone like you would use a card.
Correct. Yeah.
In NFC.
Touch free.
Okay.
And that works with our CSN Smart. Anything, all of our, if it's got a BT at the end, all the readers that have the BT at the end is Bluetooth capable.
Okay.
For all of our other credentials, if you look through our legacy catalog, our catalog's got our full line. We've got 7 pages dedicated just to credentials, and each one of those pages, I think, has got like 30 or 40 lines of credentials per page. So we have a substantial amount of credential options. This is kind of the overview of everything we've got. We've got 2 different styles of 125K tags. So we've got our ring and our twisted tag. The ring has actually got better read range. There's more copper in the ring than in a twisted tag, but they're both really popular. We've got the shark's tooth styled tag for MyFair. So if you got a smart card, they require some kind of a tag as opposed to or a fob as opposed to a card. You've got the MyFair style shark's tooth. Then we have all these style credentials here. There's actually a typo. We have UHF style, which works with our long range readers. It's an ISO looking card, like a credit card, or 13.56 MyFair card. Again, it's an ISO style card. We have a 125K prox card. All these are printable that you can put your information on there, like what we've got here, the ID badging and that kind of thing. We have a clamshell version, and this is not a clamshell. This is wrong pictures there. But we do have a clamshell version as well. It's just what people have used for 20 years. For those who do parking garages or parking lots and that kind of thing, we offer 2 different long-range readers, both that have Bluetooth functionality built in. The AYU 915, which is about 10 inches by 10 inches, will give you about 20 feet of range with the UHF credential. The 920, which is about 12 inches by 12 inches, will offer you close to 40 feet with UHF credential. They're both about 30, 35 feet with the Bluetooth app, which is still pretty substantial. For the most part, you see these installed in some kind of a parking garage or parking lot type thing. However, in the touch-free world that we're progressing into, you can have a UHF badge on your person, and this would pick it up as you walk towards the door. So you wouldn't have, it would truly be a touch-free. You could have this mounted above the door or wherever you wanted, and it'd be a truly touch-free installation. But again, it's got utilizing our parking solutions and our software. You can utilize their Bluetooth, and it goes up to, I think, 64-bit. So if you have a more secure requirement, you can customize the bit format it outputs, and I think it's up to 64-bit. One other key point about this, our long-range readers, is it comes with the power supply and mounting hardware, so everything comes ready to go, and there's not an additional aiming kit required to install it. It has a LED and a piezo that allows you to aim it from the hardware, and you don't have to buy a third party or additional aiming kit to make it work. Backing up real quick on here, we've got two different cards that actually mount inside the windshield. I say cards, stickers. I guess it should be on this one here. We've got the card, and I showed you in that previous screen, an ISO style card, UHF card. For our stickers, we have two formats on the stickers. We have one that's about the size of a Band-Aid, and it's actually our best selling card. You get the best read range with it. We also have one that's about the size of a credit card, and it's tamper resistant, so it disintegrates if you try to remove it from one vehicle and put it on another. We also have a UHF tag that can be mounted inside the grill. A lot of people would just zip tie it inside the grill, and so it would work that way. And we've got in development a headlight tag that would mount actually on the headlight. So that works well with the UHF or the UV coated windshields of some of the higher end European cars, BMW and Mercedes and so forth.
You said it'll mount onto the headlight?
That one's going to be forthcoming. We hope to have that this summer. Yeah, but that would be just a clear piece of plastic that mounts on the headlight.
Okay. Send it to me when it comes.
I will do that. So we talked earlier about biometric, and we actually have two series of biometric readers. I'll highlight the 9000 series that's most popular. The first three you see here all have Bluetooth. They all have some kind of RFID reader. You can choose 125K or 13.56, and they all do fingerprints. All three of these do those three. The two in the center, the 9250 and the 9350, both have facial integration built in. And again, the benefit of using our biometric readers with our software is you have one single place for all of your data. You add and manage the users through our AxTraxNG software. You don't have to add and manage the users through a third-party software. It's all done through our software. Now, this can be set up as a standalone, and you can use the Bio 9000 software, and you can set it up as a standalone. We've got some people that want to use this as a time card, and you can set it up that way. You just use that Bio 9000 software. But if you tie it into a full-blown access control, utilize our AxTraxNG software, and you're good to go. All three of these work with the Bluetooth, even though this one does not have the Bluetooth on there. I don't know why I didn't put that on there, but all three of these work with Bluetooth. So theoretically, you can have 4 levels of authentication with this reader here, or these two readers here. You can have a credential, you can have a fingerprint, you can have a Bluetooth app, and you can have facial recognition. So all 4 of those levels of authentication could be set up to be required before you gain access to that particular door. This over here is a fingerprint reader, a desktop fingerprint reader. So as you're enrolling folks, onboarding them, you can do the fingerprint readers from your desktop. We do have some long-range receiver options as well. As much as this looks like a reader, it's actually not. It's the same form factor as our Mullion reader that I showed you earlier, but this is actually just a receiver. It doesn't have any RFID capabilities, but it receives up to 230 feet away. So you've got 2 styles of fob that will go with that. One thing I should tell you about this is this will actually control 2 doors. It's got 2 pigtails off the back, so it can control 2 doors or 2 gates. So door 1, door 2. Both of the 2-button and a 4-button fobs work that way, door 1 and door 2. With the 4-button fob, you can program buttons 3 and 4 to fire relay. So you can arm and disarm a security system, or you can turn off and on a light, or have some other kind of customization you want to use. But you can fire relays with the buttons 3 and 4. But again, it only operates as a receiver. It has no functionality as far as a reader. And this is fully potted, weather resistant, and all that kind of good stuff. We don't talk enough about our REX switches, which is really a shame. We've got, I think, some of the best REX buttons in the business. One of the worst things you can do as an installer is put together a high quality installation, and the devices that your customers use all the time, if they're cheap and made out of press tin or something like that, just really look junky. It just doesn't look good for your installation. We have a nice solid piece of stainless steel. Our buttons come in both, the LEDs come in circular or square for both our mullion and our gangbox style. You can change the LED colors to what, I think you get several different color choices if you want to do that. You can even set them up, program them using the advanced models to control lighting, have a built-in sounder, external input for alarm and evacuation, light flashing indications. I mean, any number of things. So it's really a step up for your installation if using our reg switches. Again, here's my contact information. In the old world, I was on the road, as actually in the air 3 times a month. But I'm based here in Austin, but my territory is everything west of the Mississippi. I've got a counterpart that works all things east of the Mississippi. But this is how you reach me. This is my cell phone number and my email address. My inside support is Diane. She's the general manager of the office there in South Lake. This is her contact information. So if you ever can't reach me, you can certainly reach out to her. And here is tech support's information, which is also at the AxTraxNG.com website. Their information there is there as well. But if you want to reach out to them directly, you can utilize this number here as well. Brent is a tremendous access or resource for you guys. He's very knowledgeable about access control. And he and I keep in good contact. So if he has a specific question about Rosslare, he reaches out. But don't hesitate to utilize utilize Brent. He's a great resource for you and a great addition to your team. And outside of that, I don't have much anything else, unless there's something else, Brent, you wanted me to cover.
No, I was going to see if there was any more questions. If anybody has any questions.
There we go.
Rosslare. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Greg, for doing this webinar for us and giving us about 2 hours of your time.
My pleasure.
I guess I'll go ahead and get back on. Does anybody have any more questions? If so, I'll keep the window open even when Greg takes off. I'll keep it open and just watch and see if we have any more questions to come in.
Yes, sir, Tim. Brenton is the man. That is absolutely right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Couldn't do it without you. You have anything else, Greg? What do you have in mind for our next adventure?
Oh. We'll probably go into more of a 201 type environment, go into a little bit more detail on some of the programming. I'd like to get Larry involved in on a subsequent meeting, so we can, Larry can go into a lot more detail. I guess I could, if you don't mind, I can show you what our cloud solution will look like. I've got a little preview here if you want to see it.
Yeah, you can go ahead and run it. We have 15 minutes, 16 minutes.
It's just a cut sheet, but let me see if I can get this where to share the screen.
Right next to the audio.
There we go. And then I want to bring all right. So in development, and this is still truly in development. I hope to have it later this year, but we'll have a full cloud solution along with the administrative apps. So you can utilize our cloud, so you won't require the need of a server on site, and then you'll also have admin functions in your app. So you can remotely lock and unlock doors. You can set up, you can add or delete users. all the things that people have been asking for a long time will finally get that going. I had hoped that we'd have that ready by ISC, which was a couple weeks ago. It clearly, with everything going on in the world, everything is being delayed.
Yes.
So as soon as this comes out, I'd like to set up something with you, Brent. We'll do a training on this as well. Like I said, I hope to have it here before long. But the world as we know it, that we don't have, that's still in development. And we've also got a multi-technology reader coming out soon. And this one is the same size as that micromullion that we talked about earlier, but it will take, and like I said, they're still trying to identify some certain things, but 125K and 13.56. It'll be Bluetooth ready as well. There is an option with the MyFair style credentials, so you could have any number of credentials or options, all in a small form factor reader. So,
And how far out is it?
I would like to say, well, again, pre-COVID-19, I would have thought May, but June, July.
So you're saying it's going to be 125 kilohertz, 13.5 megahertz, Bluetooth as well?
Yes, sir. And HID.
And
as well.
HID. Okay. So yeah, so one for all.
Right.
All
Yeah,
for
and
one.
yeah. So it'll be. I'm excited about that. I really am, because I get that call all the time where people are asking, do you have a small form factor reader that will do multi-technology? And to this point, I've had to say no. But this should be coming out sometime this summer.
Okay. And is there a feature coming, or do you know if they're working on one with the COVID-19? So no touch is going to come into play probably at a really, really serious pace here in the next few weeks or months. No touch is going to be probably the way to go. So
right, yeah, we have several no touch products. We have the readers that we talked about earlier, the UHF readers, where they don't require any kind of touch. You've got our Bluetooth apps that are touch free, and then we've got no touch Rex buttons as well. So you'll have you can just wave in front of the Rex button. So we've got a full line, and we've really, even before the COVID-19, we were really working towards that anyway, just from a functionality standpoint. So, and you'll probably see more things forthcoming anyway.
okay. Well, that looks like it, and that'll be all, Greg.
All righty. Well, thanks so much for having me, and I look forward to being able to come see you in person again.
As soon as we can do that.
Yeah, I was actually looking for some crawfish boil down there. We'll go get some crawfish or something like that. And
Oh
it
man.
doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
No. You have to do that at home by yourself.
Yeah. And what fun is that?
Yeah, I can't even go home. I can't go to New Orleans. I couldn't come back. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I have to sign paperwork to cross the border. So
Is that right? Wow.
yeah, it's just getting. I mean, it has gotten crazy, but just can't go home for now. We'll be all right. We just make more videos.
Yeah, make more videos. There you go.
Make more videos. So.
All right. Well, I do appreciate your time. You guys don't hesitate to reach out to Brent or myself, and if there's anything we can do for you, let us know.
All right. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and send it on over here, or you can email them to us. We'll have some more videos to come next week. Travis' marketing team will get that out to you guys. Probably by the end of this week, you'll know what we're working on next.
All righty.
All righty. Thank you. Everybody have a good one. Be safe. Stay inside. And have a good one. Appreciate it, Greg.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later.